Okay, let's talk about understanding the project calendar. The calendars are the primary means by which you control when the tasks in your project and the resources can be scheduled for work in project. Think of the calendar as your organization's normal working days and hours. For example, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, with an hour for lunch. Your organizations may have resources that may have exceptions to those particular normal working times, such as holidays or vacations. By default, Microsoft Project has 3 default calendars. It has a 24-hour calendar, which means work can take place 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So there's no non-working time there. There's also a night shift calendar. So Monday night through Saturday morning, 11 to 8 a.m. with 1 hour for break each day. And then there's the standard calendar. The standard calendar is used by default for your projects and your resources, which is basically your Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 p.m. Work time with 1 hour for break each day. Okay, so let's take a look at some options here. First of all, how do I select the project calendar? Well, let's go into that first project, my class project. Class project here. Navigating from the project ribbon, the project information button in the properties group brings up that project information dialog box. And then over here in the calendar drop down, this is where you can select from those 3 calendars. And like you can see, 24 hours, night shift, and standard. I'm using the standard here. Okay, so we're just going to use the standard calendar by default. There are other places where you can specify other calendars to allow work to take place on other than just Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. And we'll talk about those later on. Now, let's say I just created this project and that calendar does not have any holidays in it yet. How do I take care of that? I need to put the holidays in here to ensure that work isn't being calculated to take place on holidays and specifies in a realistic timeline. Well, let's go ahead and look at that. In the project ribbon, properties grouping, there's a change working time button. Let's click on that. And that will bring up the change working time dialog box. And what I want to do is I want to make sure that the right calendar is selected because we have those 3. It's going to select the standard by default because it's currently the project calendar here. And there's a number of things to look at here. What we're interested in at this very moment in time is to specify an exception, meaning a holiday, a day in which there is not going to be work taking place. And the place in which I do that is on the exceptions tab. Now, something else to point out here is this. If you look at the legend, working days are basically, it's like a white color here. Non-working is the dark color. Okay, and then you can see the other items here. We're not really concerned about those. You can see the working time, 8 to 12, 1 to 5, 1 hour for lunch. So those are basically some of the items to look at here on the change working time dialog. But what we want to do here is we want to specify a non-working day, and we're going to specify Labor Day here. And that's going to be September 2nd. And notice that it's set the start and finish to the 2nd. And what I'm going to call this is Labor Day. And there's my exception. Now notice up here in the calendar, it's already tiled this out. So it basically makes this an exception on my calendar right there and then. Therefore, no work. And if I select it, you can see based on exception Labor Day on calendar standard, September 2nd, 2019 is non-working. So that's how we make our exceptions. It's really straightforward. If you wanted to do Thanksgiving Day, right now I would come in here, okay, to the 28th. Some organizations are going to have the 28th and 9th off. All right, so we go ahead and do that. And there's the Thanksgiving exceptions. You can see that both days there, right, are set as exceptions, 28th and 29th, right? So it changes when I select back and forth. So there's how to specify those exceptions right there. Well, how do I know that worked? Well, okay. Let's go ahead and do this. I'm going to specify, let's change the start date of this project. And I'm going to change it to start on the 30th of August. And I'm going to create a task. Task 1. It's going to have a duration of 5 days. And then I need to, I'm going to create a resource here. And don't worry about anything that we're going over here. You're going to learn this later. Go back to my Gantt chart. Okay, so task 1, 5-day duration, starts on the 30th, ends on the 6th. If you recall, we made the second a holiday. All right, I'm going to make this a auto-scheduled task. Save my changes. Now let's go ahead and assign that resource to this task. There are a bunch of ways to do this, and we're going to go about this and over this in more detail later. I'm going to select the resource's name from the checkbox here. And now I can see that the resource is actually assigned here. Now, how can I confirm that work's not taking place on that day? Well, I can go to a resource usage view on the view ribbon here. And if I do that, it brings me to a view in which information is grouped by the resource. Here's the team lead resource. There's the one task the resource is assigned to. And currently I'm looking at things time-phased by day, and it's work is the data point we're looking at here. Remember, it started on Friday. No work, no work, no work. Monday the 2nd, so no work is scheduled. And there you go. So that confirms that no work is actually going to take place on that particular day. And that's exactly what we were looking for. Okay. Now, let's go back to the Gantt chart. So what if we had a situation where we were to actually change the working time within Microsoft Project? Well, go back to my Change Working Time button in the Properties group of the Project ribbon and come over here. And this brings me back to the calendar settings and the Change Working Time dialog. And what I can do is actually change some of the information here. So I go to the Work Weeks tab, and there's basically going to be one line here, and the working time is going to be specified there. If I go ahead and click Details, well, if that's selected, this is going to go ahead and bring up the details for the default setting. And this is where the tool actually specifies the time frames for the days that are specified as work days. Therefore, as you see me, I select Sunday, and you can see there's no work scheduled. If I select Monday, you can see a little, it's lightly lit up back there. That's because they're the default times. If I wanted to change the default time from Monday through Friday, I could highlight all those days. You can click drag, you can shift click, whatever you want to do. And then what you would do is, instead of using the default times for those days, you would set days to these specific work times. And maybe your day ends at 4 o'clock, right? Instead of 5. Click OK. And now that basically is going to change the workday. You can see it's 8 to 12, 1 to 4. And that's the new setting for this particular calendar. Okay, so it's really pretty straightforward once you get used to it. Now, how do you create a new calendar within the tool set? Well, the good thing is you get all your holidays in the calendar that you need. And then when you create a new calendar, you click on the Create New Calendar button, create a new base calendar, and then you can make it a copy of an existing calendar that you already have all those holidays in. Dan's copy of standard. Make a copy of the standard calendar. Yeah, we'll go ahead and save the changes to the standard. And it automatically switches to the copy that I just created. So now you can see the different ones in there. Okay, so it's pretty straightforward. That's the significance, how you specify the calendar, how you add non-working time, you set your workday schedule, and how you create a new calendar. So very important features that are within the project calendar.